I'm very happy and I'm very excited to host the webinar today with the topic of how can we bring in more diversity, how can we empower more women to join AI and data science. And in our community, we have more than 35% women participating in our challenges. And I'm very happy to have 5 of our collaborators today to join us as panelists and have an open discussion on what their experiences were and what can be done to increase the rate of women in AI. So without further ado, I want to introduce to you Esem from Turkey. At the moment, we are spread all around the world, who will introduce herself, and then the rest of the panelists will introduce, and then we will start the discussion.
Hello, everyone. I'm Ecem. I'm a high school student from Turkey, and I'm the founder of an organization called Techno Ladies, which mainly encourages young women to get into technology and AI. And I'm really excited to be here and to be a part of this webinar. So now Kulsum will be introducing herself.
Hey, Kulsum, you have to unmute yourself.
Oh, whoops. Hello. Can everyone hear me? Okay, great. So yes, my name is Kulsum Abdullah. I'm happy to be here as part of this webinar. And my background is in computer engineering. I got later into data science and machine learning. Currently working at a company called ADP as a data scientist. And I really am looking forward to having more women and marginalized communities come into AI, because I think it's important for us to be all part of the challenges and solving the problems. And next will be Rebecca introducing herself.
We can do that too. So I'm here with Sophia, and my name is Rebecca Moreno. I'm the data scientist for UNHCR Innovation Team. UNHCR stands for UN Refugee Agency. And my background actually is in political science. Later turned on a master's degree on technology policy, where this is where I learned how to fully code. And I work with Sophia very closely. We work in the same team.
Yes. Hi, I'm Sophia. I'm the AI engineer of the Innovation Service of UNHCR. My background is computer science, and then I developed some interest in user-centered design, and here I am with the team doing whatever project comes in our hands. Glad to be here and looking forward to having discussions.
We are the challenge poster of the displacement challenge, by the way.
Hello, I guess I'm up. I am Yemisi. My background is in electrical engineering. I got into AI a year ago, completely by accident, after I got a scholarship that I didn't even want to apply to. And for the past year, I've just been digging more and more into the topic because I got really interested, and I came across all the biases that there is associated to that. With regard to women, with regard to races, and all other social biases. So yeah, that's also how I found Omdena, because I was really interested in everything that they were doing. I'm really happy to be part of this panel with all of you amazing women, and yeah, let's talk about this. Yeah.
Awesome, thank you very much for the intro. So now we can start the discussion. And what I want to say is that we make it very interactive. So to all the people that are joining, please either drop your question in the comment section, or you can raise your hand, which you can see in the menu if you want to participate via voice or via video. And we will divide the discussion in 3 blocks. We will start with the why. So why do we need more women in AI and data science? And then the second block will be about what keeps women from entering AI. And then we will wrap up and come up with some action steps and see what we have discussed and learned in this webinar. So the first question that I have is, why do we need more women in AI and data science? Who wants to jump in?
I will. So we need more women in not only in AI or data science, but in technology, because we need to provide equal rights to everyone. Basically, that's just a really basic explanation to that. But especially with AI, it's a really new coming technology. It's newly developing, and it will end up affecting everyone, and it will end up affecting all of the genders, all of the races, all people from all kinds of backgrounds. So we need to include those people into the development stages of this AI, so that the system that we get as a result will actually consider the good of all of those people, and not, given to bias and all the other inequalities.
Yes, and to continue on that, because I also think that having diverse teams and having the voices of the not equally represented people. So for example, we had AI systems. AI maybe in the past was only in research, and now we have AI interacting with other industries as well. And it's not just, it's a tool, of course, but we had men building tools in the past, and so we allowed decision making to be also allocated to men. And I think now it's a chance to develop systems that are partially doing decision making, and it will be great to reconstruct and develop with different values and build this again from scratch, having women participating. I think that's my point here.
Okay, so that is the why. From the people who are joining right now, do you want to jump in? Do you have a question regarding the why? Why do you think we need more women in AI?
Can I add something really quick?
Sure.
Yeah, I mean, to me, it's, when someone comes to solve a problem, he solves it from his understanding of it, his or her understanding of it, and maybe his or her experience with it too. So if we have men solving the problems, if we have mostly men solving the problems, well, the way that they're thinking about it, the way that they're approaching it, the whole perspective of it is, male. Now, there is a lot of research that has been done about this. I don't know if you guys, you ladies, and you, Michael, and all the participants, I don't know if you heard about Joy Bolamwini. Oh my goodness, I hope I'm saying this correctly. She's this researcher out from MIT, and she did some very, very, very interesting research about how facial recognition algorithms, for instance, how they perform, once you separate male from female. And it turned out that when she dug into that, she found that, well, they perform, quite well, very well on male Caucasians. But then when you brought them to women, they didn't perform as well, no matter the skin color. And there is a lot of statistics about this that she published. And I don't know, can I share the link here in the messages, in the post? Yeah, you can look into it. So it's very interesting. The people solving the problems, they are not mean, they are not out to get anyone, but it's just their perspective is restricted to their own experience and to the way they see it. So we need diversity in everything so that we can hope that we have, a wider perspective, so that we can hope that we approach the problem from every possible angle. So yeah, that's what I was going to add. I'm gonna post the link to the article about her research, the research of Joy Bolamwini. Oh my gosh. If she was here, she's gonna hate me for this. So yeah, thank you.
Somebody wants to add something?
Well, it's about also bringing diversity of thought, no? I guess even the women here are super representative. I'm from Mexico, Sophie's from Greece. Look at us. We've been raised in a way that represents our culture and our society. And when we're building systems, especially systems that impact vulnerable communities, people that are marginalized, in our case that we work with refugees, we need to think on those outliers, right? As data scientists, we also do that. And we ourselves could be those outliers. And so because our experiences have shaped us and have, even when you guys were studying in the universities, whatever you study, computer science, political science, you bring a way of thinking to a challenge, like Jamisi was saying. And it's important to put that diversity out there for these problems that might seem common, but that people would see it in a completely different way. Even Sophia and I that work together, we see things completely different way because where we're coming from and our diversity of backgrounds.
All right, so let me ask you the following question. Before the webinar, we promoted it a bit on Facebook, and we got a lot of comments. And some of those comments came from women, some of those comments came from men, and a few comments were, why this gender discussions all the time? Aren't we supposed to concentrate on AI? In this case, this was a male. What would he say about this? Is that something that is that just a comment that comes up seldomly, or is that something that you experience more often? How would you put that into context if people talk about it like this?
I'm gonna start this. I actually had an incident like this one a couple of weeks ago. I am part of an online community with a lot of scholars from all over the world, and on Slack, one of the first things that our community managers always do is create a channel. It's either women in tech or women in something, a women channel where women get together and do things together. And in our women channel for my latest community, we had like a very active, absolutely amazing woman, Helena Bammer, and she just kept organizing stuff and bringing us together and doing things. And it was such an active channel, and it was a place where we could talk about everything and so on. Then there were a couple of men in the community. I don't know if they were upset or if they were just joking, but they were, why do we have a women channel? We should also have a men channel where we do things. It was complicated because I didn't know how to explain this. How do I explain that it's not just a place where we get together to do things? It's also a place where I go. It's a place where we go, we women, we go to be reminded by other women that we can, because sometimes we feel alone. There isn't as much as us as there are women, that there are men. Sometimes we feel that we can't. We are working on a project and there are a lot of men, and you're already dealing with this feeling of maybe I can't, or maybe I don't know enough. And then there are a lot of men, there aren't many people like you, and the feeling increases. So sometimes you go back to the channel because there's a discussion going, some women are doing other things and they're doing amazing things, and you get reminded that, you know what, I can do this. Even if there aren't a lot like me, I can do this because there are others like me doing it. So it's a refugee, and it's also where we go to talk about being harassed, because that happens to us a lot, especially when you are in communities where there are a lot of male. I'm not saying that male are predators at all, but in communities things happen, and then you want to talk about it with people like you. So you go to other women and you talk about that. And I didn't know how to explain all this to my male classmates. I just didn't know how to do it, because I felt like they couldn't see all those things that they couldn't feel. I don't know, maybe I was wrong, but I felt like what I feel when I am alone in a room full of men, what I feel about not being able to do something, or what I feel about being out of place, I feel like because it's not something that they experience, that maybe they can understand it, or maybe they experience it, but I just don't know. I don't know. So, that comment that the person made, it's not the first time I come across something like that, but I gotta say, it's just, I don't know how to explain the depth of the feelings that we deal with, and the fact that having a community of women, or discussing these topics, or getting together and feeling like together we are strong, I don't know how to explain how it helps me. It's just, I don't know. So that's what I was going to say.
Thank you. Somebody wants to add something to that? And otherwise I do.
Oh, sure. I could like to add one thing. So that this has come up in AI and other topics, that why is there this emphasis on gender in a women's group? So I like to say that, well, if it was an ideal world or situation, then yes, we could just talk about the AI, but it's not. Because obviously, if you just look at the data and the numbers, there's only about 25% women, 75% men in AI. And, the population of the world is, more than 50% women. So just, unfortunately, these kind of things are necessary, because if they don't happen, we don't have these discussions or this awareness, then there's not going to be a change, and it's going to get worse.
I couldn't agree more. And in the example that you use on Slack, well, all the channels are male channels. I mean, that doesn't change. No one, like people that were born entitled, they wouldn't understand why there is a necessity for a female channel, in the same way they wouldn't understand why there is a necessity to have developers, to have engineers in AI, because you have to be there to prove it for them why it's necessary. Well, they never had that, let's say. But also I had the same incident when there was a women technology conference, and like, why only women in technology? Why not make it equal for everyone? Why not include? And everyone has been given that position for too long. And so all of the projects and the conferences and everything has had that phase, the male phase. And so I think that's a really good jump for the next question, because it creates that bias towards women jumping in technology related fields, because somehow it creates like a frontier, like something that you cannot overcome.
Thanks a lot. I saw that Kate raised her hand. So Kate, do you want to jump in?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, wonderful. Basically, representation matters. The same knock I've heard for a long time. I've been a member of Society of Women Engineers, and why do you need a separate society? And the moment representation reaches 50%, the number of women in the population, then I would say then we won't need separate groups, separate channels, etc. So until then, I think that would be an adequate rebuttal to this this criticism, because I've heard it a long time, and the amount of representation of women in technology, electrical engineering for me, since the 1980s just really hasn't changed very much. And I'd like to see that improve.
Thank you. I want to add one thought and question to that before we go to the next category. What do you think about the risk of echo chambers? So once you have the support system of women without having men involved, are there any risks that you see? Do you think there need to be more men in the discussion involved? Also in this webinar, I see it's very much female driven. What do you think about that?
Is that for me?
Whoever wants to. For all.
Well, okay. I want men in the discussion. I'm actually, so in that latest community I was talking about, there were no men Usually in my communities for women in sex, we have men in there. Sometimes we have like someone who, a man who will come and will say, oh my gosh, well, obviously I'm not a woman, but I have daughters, so I want to be part of this conversation. I want to know what's going on. I want to understand what you're going through. You know, I want to be informed about this. So no, absolutely. I want men being part of this discussion because, you know, when we're talking about diversity, we want to bring women in. This is not a fight against anyone. It's on women against men. No, we want to do it all together because, I mean, it's not about like having women and then have men feel like, oh no, we've been taken over or something. No, we want to be all together. We want to do this together. So no, men in the discussion, absolutely. And I am actually, well, I prefer, you know, societies where we have like societies for women to empower women, all that. But we also have men that participate and that understand, because that's also what we want. We want men to understand what's going on, to understand why we have this society, so that, you know, questions or comments like the one we had previously, we have less of those. We want to be all on the same page and understand what the issues are and work together, both gender, to solve it. So yeah, that's my point of view.
Yeah, I'd like to say that it's definitely going to be helpful to have men involved. There's still not enough women where we could really use help with male mentors and male allies, and having them support us to, you know, go up in the ranks, so to speak.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think both men and women should be involved in this discussion. However, there is a significant need for this woman Slack groups, sorry, and that kind of stuff, because I mean, somebody wrote to the Q&A a question. I think it's kind of about me. I don't have a science background. I'm a high school student, but I'm really into technology and I do coding and AI in my own time. And even with that, I really faced with a lot of problems. And I mean, it is funny how even in the age of 16 or 17, you are really faced with the gender inequality in this field. For example, in my school, I was a member of the coding club, and we were only 2 female students from 20 or 25 students. And the other friend of mine, the other girl, had to drop out of the club because she felt lonely, she felt unwanted, and she felt excluded. And this shouldn't be happening. I mean, this is just a small scale of what is happening in the field of AI and technology, but this shouldn't be happening at all. So that is why we need the groups, and we also need men in discussion too.
Thank you very much. So if nobody has to add something, we will move to the next category. I think we explored the why now, but let's go deeper into the what keeps women from entering AI. And I think Kulsum and Yemisi, you wrote an article about Imposter Syndrome. So I think it would be a good introduction to talk about that and then take the conversation from there.
Sure. So for the article, I want to give more credit to Yemisi for that. She did a lot of work and it was very good information. For me personally, you know, in retrospect, looking back as I was growing up and going into the field, I think fortunately I had a situation where I wasn't aware of gender bias or the struggles that were in a male-dominated field. So I just knew that I was interested in an engineering-related field. And it wasn't until I got into the university that I started to realize what that issue was. And I think that I just adapted to the environment. Unfortunately or fortunately, you know, I kept going with my degree and my work, but I was internalizing a lot of the microaggressions and the struggles, you know, the condescending tone of say certain people and men, you know, realizing that I had to work really hard to be able to prove myself. And it was later that I recognized that I needed to recover from this. And so speaking from that, I think that, you know, reducing the struggle for women to enter the field, and then also going beyond that and actually encouraging them and trying to actually actively get them, you know, into the field, and those that are interested and have those talents. Because I think the less boundaries and struggles there are, the more encouraging it'll be, and the less that women will actually want to leave the field. Because I admit there were times that I wondered, why am I in this field? This is, you know, this is difficult. But the only reason I stayed in it is because I thought, I don't know what else I could do, because this is the area I want to be in. So those are some of my thoughts for now.
Okay, so should I go, Kate? No? Okay, I will go then. So back to the article really quick. Kusumi, it was such a pleasure and such an honor working with you. So, oh my gosh, speaking of women in tech, oh my goodness. It's been, I think it depends a lot on, I don't know, culture, the sort of society you live in, your education. I mean, it depends on a lot of things, but it has been a nightmare for me. It's been an uphill battle. When I graduated from high school, and I first went to university, I was at a private university, and there were basically two tracks to choose from. There was one track. Oh my God! Speaking of this, I'm almost shaking. It was shocking. So one of those tracks was purely technical. The other one was half technical and half business. And in my track, we were 5 women out of 32 people. The other one, there was about half of the people were women. And every single time our professors would show up, all men by the way, they would encourage us to go to the other track. Why? Because we were women. I mean, no, we were meant to take care of our husbands, to take care of our children, to take care of kids. And the idea was that, well, you know, in this technical track, when we get a job, you will sometimes have to work late, you will have to spend a lot of time at work, and that's not what you're meant to do. You're supposed to take care of your husband, you're supposed to be home early to cook dinner and take care of your kids. Oh my goodness. I do not remember a single professor that was encouraging of us. I mean, imagine spending 2 years in that environment where the people teaching you what you want to learn, teaching you the things you need to build a successful career, are telling you, no, don't do it because, well, that's not what you're supposed to do. But then again, what do they know about you? I mean, it's not even my fault that I was born a woman. This is, oh my gosh, it's been a nightmare. It was a nightmare. It was really difficult. And, you know, growing up in a society where a lot of women are told that, you know, the ultimate self-realization step is getting married. When you are told that you are not going to be a good wife because of what you're studying, it's really, really, really difficult to deal with. It's really difficult to deal with. Not too long ago, I was chatting with a family relative, and we were talking about another relative that was studying aeronautical engineering. Very beautiful women studying aeronautical engineering, and this relative of mine that I was talking with said, "Why is this beautiful woman doing something so technical?" Wow, I don't know. So that has been my experience. I don't know how many women deal with things like that. I don't know how many people think like that person that I was talking to, a family member that I respect a lot, by the way. I don't know where that came from. But you know, if we have a lot of people, even if they're not expressive, or even if we have just a little bit of people thinking that way, seeing things that way, and saying things like that to women or to girls when they're growing up, or to young women, it can be encouraging of us choosing technology. It's really hard. It's tough. So yeah, that's what I was going to say.
Thank you very much, Yemisi. Thank you very much for sharing that. We have 15 more minutes. We're running out of time. Time flies very quickly here. We can expand it a bit, but from now, let's see if you have something to add to what Yemisi said, and then one more, and then we have to move on to the next category.
I do.
Okay.
I think actually I wanted to respond to the question on how can a person with no background of computer science or AI can get involved in AI. And this is my case of imposter, I guess, because I'm a political scientist. I'm an international relations major. And this imposter syndrome, it's usually reinforced, right? So a lot of people are making you doubt of your own confidence and fearing that you don't deserve that position, that recognition, that accomplishment that you have done. And it affects more men, actually, paradoxically, because in the sense that men are not willing to accept their imposters. Women, I think we're a bit more humble, or at least we are usually pointing at our shortcomings, right? So in my case, it's like, I don't have a computer background. I learned to code when I was 20 something, right? So these kids learn how to code younger. That doesn't mean that you cannot accomplish things. It's about building, and so concrete recommendations, at least from what I've learned from my experience, is first you develop bilingual skills. I call bilingual when you develop computer science skills like programming, modeling, algorithm studying, and at the same time a sector skill. So in my case, my sector is humanitarian affairs. So I can translate back and forth like an interpreter what the engineers and the developers are doing to what the lawyers want to see in a website or something, right? So that's one. Also be very transparent, and it's okay to say at some point that you feel that you don't belong, but also be fair to your skills, ladies. Like, be assessing of, okay, I'm not very good. Yesterday we were discussing this. I think we're not very good at visuals, but we're amazing. She's an amazing Python coder. I can do marvelous things with R. But then, okay, I am an expert in R, but I have very poor skills in visuals. It's okay. I don't know JavaScript, and that's okay. But you also pat you yourself in the back to build your confidence on what you know, right? See, that's a thing of building confidence to overcome that anxiety that sometimes we feel when you're in a room full of men, no? And the third one is that community building, part of the Slack, but I'm also gonna speak as a manager. Not only, I mean, I don't directly supervise, we're more peers, but we supervise developers and other volunteers. And as a manager is creating that space, and I tell you as a manager to speak for women to be, sometimes women are developing communication skills. They're very good developers, but maybe they don't do presentations. Or some people are trying to learn about a different language. And so you give them that space for them to learn and censor all form of stereotypes, toxic narratives of masculinity. That includes LGBTI community comments, things that are you need to call them out as managers. Like, what did you say about like your beautiful lady that you said like it's coding? And building that community also with the men. A majority of my mentors actually are men, because this is kind of the prevalence of the narrative for my generation. So it's what I do is for young women whenever we're in conference is let me introduce you to my mentor, which happens to be a man, for them to start feeling the belonging, right? So the imposter syndrome is about shattering that feeling that you don't belong. You belong, guys. It's a matter of like just building that network, and that network could be in a conference, in an event, introducing to other data scientists, writing an email, LinkedIn messages, whatever you think that you're gonna shatter that you belong to that community, because you belong to that community, even if you're not a computer scientist. You can learn always.
That was really well said, and I completely agree about about all of the things that you just said, but especially with the community parts. I think this building a community that encourages others to basically not get discouraged in the field is really essential, and it's actually what we are trying to do at Techno Ladies, and I just wanted to jump in about that. And I want to say that there are 6 things that I actually observed while working with Techno Ladies, which kind of prevents the underrepresented groups from entering the field. And I think these are 6 lacks, which are lack of awareness regarding the AI field and its potential, and lack of awareness regarding this diversity crisis. Some people don't have any idea that such a thing is happening. Like, they just basically think that women can't be engineers or women can't be in technology, and that is just wrong. And the other one is lack of role models and advocates who demand equal rights, and lack of early introduction to technological concepts, and lack of opportunities or initiatives to get involved in AI, which was kind of a big problem for me, at least, because of the bilingual coding and all, as you said, Rebecca. And last but not least, the lack of support, especially in peer-to-peer form, because this is really encouraging to. This is really discouraging to hear. Sorry. Okay. So whenever I say someone that I want to study computer engineering, I get the response like, why? And like, they're just troubled. All right. And that's really discouraging to hear. And I not only hear this from my adult mentors, but also from my peers. They're like, really, computer engineering? You'll be studying with all the boys, gross. And like, really? I mean, this is 2019, right? So I just wanted to jump in and say that.
Thanks a lot, Isim. Camille raised her hand. Do you want to add to this?
Yes. Are you able to hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Hi. Great. Nice to meet you all. I'm Camille. So I am like, I think it's Rebecca. And I actually came from a law background and into the engineering realm and everything. Like, I ditched law school and I came towards engineering and found a very big interest in AI. And like some of the things you guys have stated, lack of role models, lack of people wanting to help. People tend to overcomplicate what AI is to the point where it's discouraging. So it's like, oh, AI is X, Y, and Z. And people have this, a lot of people that don't know about AI have a negative connotation and believe that automation is going to, take jobs and ruin lives. And really, AI is going to aid in a lot of different areas. So I know people like myself, I think that it's important to start getting a lot of these young girls into AI at young ages. And not just AI, data research, analytics, big data, because when you're compiling this information, that is what these algorithms are putting out. And so I think somebody also mentioned when we need representation in more than just programming. We do need the advocates. That's why myself, I'm starting to use my social media for that platform. And if, going back to what I said before, if we could get a lot more people in these young girls' lives, they're going to grow up knowing, okay, this is a path for me to take. I don't just have to be an assistant. I don't just have to be a teacher or a nurse. I can actually be, an AI product manager. I can be a programmer. I can be a data scientist. And so I really love forums like this that give us the opportunity to help in different backgrounds. I think, Yemisi, you're from Africa as well. I know me personally, I'm Nigerian. I'm from Nigeria. I'm based in Dallas, though. And the lack of education on the fact that women can be engineers in Africa is so heartbreaking. I had met a young girl, she was about 9 years old, and she said she wanted to be an engineer. However, her dad said engineers are not for women, they're for men. I told that child, I said, babe, when you go to college, I will pay your school fees to go and be an engineer. Do not play with me. So I love what you all are doing. I hope to work with you guys. And that's pretty much all I wanted to add. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Camille. Thanks. So we have 10 more minutes, and I want to add something to what you just said, which I bring in the male perspective. I mean, I would love to have somebody from the visitors or from the audience join. I see that there are a few men. So if there's somebody interested to give a male perspective, please let us know. Otherwise, I think I agree with you that a big problem is that when we go back to the imposter syndrome and being open about what struggles one might face. I think there's still a very big gap between how male or men perceive these things and how openly they share these things, because they have a very specific model on their mind on how they should behave. And I think the crucial element is to bring both women and men together and have an open dialogue and understand better each other's perspectives. And I see that men tend to have a harder time to do that, to be more open and aware and conscious about what the struggles are that women face. And I think what is missing a bit when I do research and when I see all of these discussions going on is that it's very centered. Either it's very female driven, and we already saw and we discussed why that is very valuable, because you want to have a support system. Or there's the other side, there are a lot of male discussing things, but how can we bring both together and understand each other better? And I think that would help. So that's my perspective on this. And, you know, just by listening to you and hearing your stories, and I'm inspired already. And this helps so much, you know, just understanding this and changing perspectives. So again, if there's nobody who wants to add to that, or nobody of you, we will move to the last category.
You just wanted to actually, by creating these type of community forums, you're already helping a lot, right? Because these topics are not, even though there's a lot of blogs about it, people are lonely fighters, right? So you struggle with your imposter every time that you go on a table and the table is full of men, and you and there's anxiety, a lot of anxiety in young women and women even that we're working in governments, and that forum creation, that dynamic conversation that you guys out of Omdena are doing is actually helping that bridge, right? To bring together what you were saying, women and men talking about these issues.
Okay, so are there any questions in the audience? Either raise your hand or put it in the comments. We will now move to the last category. So we have discussed many different points. So let's make it concrete. And I would ask you to share one or maximum two action steps that you think that we should take to make happen what we just discussed. We already talked about it a bit, but let's try to find the ones that you think are the most important ones. So while you think about your response, there's one question, which is, do you know of any groups, Slack, Twitter, of women in analytics and data science?
On the recommendations, no, we know many. I was actually sharing with you data science, women in data science. I think it's DSS. We can share the links. I mean, even Omdena has their own channels for that. Concrete recommendations. As a manager, I would have to say, and ladies, the ones that at some point are going to become managers and supervise developer teams, both of women and men, try to create that space for those women to thrive, right? So if the lady wants to learn a new language because they feel weak, if they want to go to a conference because they want to learn this and want to meet with people, give that permission to them. We are a bit behind of the curve, not only on gender equality, but in this industry, we're way behind. And also try to build that community, you know, like I was telling you, sometimes we have sectorial conferences and women in AI conferences, but also normal conference on data science and artificial intelligence. So if you're going, bring a lady with you and introduce them to your peers, because it's not about you only shining in the conference. It's not about you only speaking in the conference. It's about making them shine at some point. I have to say personally, I declined some of the invitations for Sophia to speak and speak her experience and things that she has experienced, right? So it's something that it takes humility to managers, not to give that space of people that deserve that space.
And I agree with Rebecca, because when you lean out, you allow people to lean in. And if these people are women in this case, 'cause, they need that space, then of course, if they want, and that's their goal and priority, I think be encouraged. And not just that also, but as a manager, Rebecca, and also for other managers, I think having underrepresented also women, maybe from the Global South, creating the diversity, even if there is women in the team, creating a more diverse space even there, just to encourage people that come from a different background, that have heard other stories, that deal with different struggles, because I cannot say definitely that I relate to the stories, some things, but not on that point where, so definitely there is, even there is some diversity.
Higher diversity in not only women, LGBTI community, minorities, these are people with disabilities. They can build AI too.
Somebody else wants to add something? If not, there's a question. And after that, we will have one more question, and then we have to close the webinar, unfortunately, and wrap up. So Lindsay Martin is asking, in AI specifically, we understand how bias manifests in AI systems, especially those built on biased data. How do you effectively and succinctly counter the argument that AI just naturally gives you the best results?
Wait, Michael, could you repeat that?
You
Thank
can't see the question. I will post it in the chat.
I want to answer the question, if that's okay.
Sure.
So there was a case with a large tech company about 2 years ago, I guess. They used an AI system to detect to determine their recruitments for that year, and they fed into the system a data that consisted of 10 years worth of recruitment statistics, and the AI system learned by itself to penalize the resumes that contain the word woman, and so it just basically struck out all of the women applicants, and I think that was one of the horrible cases that you could see this bias really clearly, and we could counter that argument by just saying that no AI system should be penalizing a resume for just containing the word woman, because that is not anything, that is not something that depends on statistic. And yeah, also AI just doesn't naturally give you the best result. It gives you whatever you put into it. So the more the less diverse your data is, the less diverse your output will be. So it basically exacerbates the diversity gap, the gender gap, the diversity crisis. And I really think that argument is wrong, kind of. Thank you.
Has somebody something to add? Because that will be the last comment, and then there will be one more question, and then we have to close.
I will add this really quick to counter the argument AI naturally gives the best results. Just well, AI gives a result depending on the data that it gets. So AI will give you a good result if the data is not garbage. So if you put in garbage, you're gonna get garbage out. So someone calls at me the argument, AI gives the best results. I'm gonna ask, what data did you feed it? Let's talk about the data, and then we're gonna talk about the results. So that's pretty much how I see it. Let's talk about the data first.
Thank you. So then the last question from from Osgur, which is about Jordan Peterson that you might know. This is a question that I have read quite a few times, but I've never heard an answer from a woman. So what he's saying, Jordan Peterson, he voices the view that society bias has little to do about the gender gap, but there's more biological and personality basis explaining it more. So what do you think about this?
Well, can you rephrase the question? Yeah, biological.
So the viewpoint of Jordan Peterson is that the society bias has little, or the gender bias has little to do about the gender gap itself, but it's more biological and personality based. This is a better explanation of why women and men are different. So I think
Oscar actually wants the mic so that he can explain he can explain the question better.
Yes. Okay.
Hello, do you hear me now?
Yes.
First of all, thank you for this panel. It is valuable. I feel like, you know, the women are really less represented in technical fields, and it's not good. But the examples, of course, there's some contribution from the society observing something and then feeding it back. And then, like the example you gave, you know, the little kid wants to be an engineer, and then the father says, no, engineering is not for you, not for girls. Let me come back to Jordan Peterson's explanation of some things. So he gives the example of personality difference. He says that even in a gender neutral society like Sweden, you know, more egalitarian society, if you take a random man and a random woman and ask which one is more aggressive, if you select the man, you would be right 60% of the time. So the mean aggression is not that different. But he's saying that all of you are data scientists, so you will understand it very well. So when you look at the bell curve and you look at the edges, and if they are shifted slightly at the tails, you know, if the bell curves are shifted slightly from each other, the means are just slightly different, but the tails will have more people in one of the group. So if the men are a little bit more aggressive, you will have much more, most aggressive humans will be most likely men. And he was saying that that's the reason we have more men in jails. But also, that's why we have more men as CEOs. That's his explanation. And I feel like it makes sense. Also, you know, there's biological explanations, you know, evolutionary explanations. You know, women have been rearing babies and nourishing babies thousands of years. So, of course, they evolved that way. And men have been hunting, gathering. And again, you know, there's a more tendency for men to be in technical fields. It's not just society forcing them to women. Maybe society is observing that and giving feedback. Like I am saying, my kid, you know, if you eat that, it won't be good for you. They might be doing something wrong. We could encourage women, but we shouldn't maybe blame them. They are just thinking for your good again. And also there is other things, having toxic masculinity in the environment, etc. I agree with all of those. But also I'd like to, you know, these things are not talked easily, and these should be talked very much more easily. Like there's a biological clock. Again, Jordan Peterson talks about in another video, not this one, about like lawyers, not technical field. There are many like successful women entering into the field. They are very aggressive, working like morning to night. But when they're around age 30, they say, okay, this is not for me. They drop out of that race.
That's good. I'm gonna counter your argument because I'm 35, not married, do not want to have a kid, and I have very happy work-life balance. And I enjoy being with my girls.
One
I
example,
wear
but
the
what
headband.
statistics
I'm
to
wearing
add?
a dress. I love to be feminine.
Yeah,
Things that are not
my
aggressive.
sister,
One after another. You have to.
my
You
sister
have
is
to.
not married
You
as
have
well. She's in a technical field.
Yeah, I think it's very important. I think you pointed out actually on the narrative of toxic masculinities. So guys are taught since they're kids to be the winner, to be the one that is playing better the ball, to be the one that is doesn't cry, right? And so also in the imposter syndrome, obviously they're never gonna recognize that they're doing something wrong because they're supposed to be since they're kids in certain cultures. I'm talking about my own culture, of course. I'm from Mexico. The masculinity is super high, and these kids are conditioned since they're kids,
Yes, yes,
but they need to do the best, and they need to be the best engineer, the best CEO. As for women, for example, if you're angry at something, people are
yes.
telling you you're
There's
so,
certain biases like that. You're right.
yeah, so emotional, right? The other day I was doing a quote that I put it to the team, which is like, when girls or when girls cry, usually parents are, please don't cry, baby, you look so ugly. And as a girl, you don't want to look ugly. You want to be liked by your daddy, your parents. And so we don't allow ourselves to cry, like to actually express, or angry, for example. You look so angry when you're like doing you're frowning. You look so angry, you're frowning, you're going to have wrinkles. And God forbid women having wrinkles, right? So in that sense, we women, when we go to industries like this, instead of me being angry, you want to cry because you were taught since you were a kid that women frowning and shouting look ugly, and you want to be accepted and you want to be confident, and therefore you end up crying in the bathroom, or like because you're frustrated because your male colleague scream at you very disrespectfully, instead of saying like, listen, don't talk to me in that tone. I don't deserve to be talked. How I talk to you on that tone? We need to become more assertive and more confident on the skills that we bring to the table, B, the background that we have, and C, completely shut down what I was telling, censor all type of forms of harassment, stereotypes, toxic narratives that are referring to these toxic masculinities. Everyone, we work with the UN, we have it all. We have cultures of everywhere that we need to be very, very aware. But especially if you're working in this industry, if it's a predominant type of education, cultural background, racial background that is in there, then we have a say things on the table. Sorry, I'm become very passionate on this because I'm probably part of the outlier curve on the not aggressive, not aggressive.
So thanks a lot, Osgur. If you want to add to that, I want to give you the opportunity to respond to that, but we have to close very soon, so we have to keep it precise. But
Sure.
I would love to continue the conversation.
Yeah, I wanted to talk about some other perspectives, because it wouldn't be like just talking to the choir, and as I was mentioning to you, my sister is also like unmarried. She says even if she gets married, she doesn't want to have kids, and I respect that. It is her choice, and I respect your choice too. But many women want kids, and they should know actually their options. Now we have technology; they can freeze their eggs at their early age if they want to have their career early on and later have their babies. And since these things are not taught, actually we don't know these options as well.
Michael, can I add something really quick?
Okay, and then I also want to add to it, and then we will have to.
Osgo, thank you for bringing this up. Really, thank you, because we talk about a lot about how society contributes to this, but you're right. At the end of the day, can we really know the old age, the long debate of nurture versus nature? How much of what we do or the way we act and is because of nature, the way we are biologically, or because of our society, nurture and all that. We can't know. Okay, that's the bottom line. These things, they come from too far back, and they've been mixed up for too long for us to know exactly how much of what, leads to what. But I think that if we suppose that the two of them, have some role in in what we get, we should try to work on the one we can work on. We can't get up now and start changing biology and all that. Now, if society and nurture indeed has an effect, let's work on that, you know? Let's do that one. Let's take care of that one. Let's do our best, and, you know, and the part that he plays in the game will be taken care of, hopefully. That's how I see it. Thank you for bringing it up. I love this debate.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. I think, you know, this discussion shows why perspective is very important and understanding each other's perspective. And I would love to, at a certain point, have a conversation with more male being involved. What I can add to that is that I think, of course, there are biological differences, but also what I have to add as a man is that, you know, also men have a feminine side, but men don't, you know, explore and live their feminine side, which is also a cultural thing and is a societal thing. So at the end, I think it's all about getting closer to each other and trying to be very open and understanding each other's perspectives and find a common ground. And it might be biological, or it might be societal, it might be a very personal experience. It doesn't matter that much. At the end, I think it's all about both sides getting closer to each other and understanding each other better. And I think we had a very interesting discussion. And thank you very much for sharing all your stories and being so open. I think that is necessary. And what I would like to do is I would like to wrap this webinar up in maybe 1 or 2 articles. I think there's a lot what we have been touched on. And I would like to spread this and then show it to the people that have not participated in the webinar and maybe take the conversation further and then see what we can do from that point on. So, and quickly about Omdena. So for all the ones that joined, if you're interested in learning more about what we do, as I said previously, we believe in diversity. We have more than 35% women. And it's all about, you know, bridging the gap and bringing people closer to each other, because at the end of the day, we are all humans. And if you want to work with us in our community, if you want to join a challenge, you can check out our homepage. We are also on various social media, so you will find us on Instagram, on Facebook, on Twitter, and also if you use the hashtag AI for Good, very sure there will be coming up something about us. So thank you everyone for joining, and it was great for me, and I hope for all of you as well. And let's take it further, as I said.
Thank you for organizing, guys. Thank you, ladies.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. This was an amazing panel. I just want to add that.
Thank you all really for being here, for the discussions, for the questions and all that. It was amazing. Thanks.
Perfect. Thank you. So I will close the webinar now. Bye-bye.
Bye. Thanks for the webinar. Bye.
Thanks. Bye.